Hey, good afternoon. This is Dallas again. I'm going to be picking back up where we left off on our Candyland project. So anyway, a little bit about what we're going to go over today is we're going to go over controllers and views. We're not going to look at models just yet, just because we're not going to hook up a database yet. I want to get our static content. I just want to sort of get something on a page, something for you to look at, understand how routing works in MVC, and we're also going to look at Bower. So if you use Bower, great. If you haven't, I'm going to show you how to hook it up. If you don't know what Bower is a package manager, and so all it does is it's sort of like our CS proj file in our current project, where we go to project it manages our packages. So if when you go to the command prompt, you type .Net add package and the package name, and it's in that little file and it manages it. Bower is the same thing. So if we can go ahead and go over to the Bower's website, Bower. So again, for this tutorial series, if you've not yet installed Node.js and you still haven't, and you've just been manually creating all your files and work, and you've been doing everything manually and pausing the video to copy all the code down, I suggest you stop. And so for this, you're going to need it. Node is going to be part of the future. I'd see like probably all websites are going to be running Node. I worked at Uber, and I know that they use Node heavily. Their whole platform's Node. It's all JavaScript, all Java. It's either Java or JavaScript. Apple, same way. Everything's going to Node. It's very simple. It's very clean. It's very nice. This tutorial, we're not going over Node. We're going over .NET Core. But for some things, you're going to still need Node. You don't really need to know the thing, but you need to know that this is how it works. So if you've not already, open up a terminal. Now I've already got it installed, but I'll go with you again. So if you're on Linux, you need to do sudo, and we'll do a node package npm install -g and then Bower. I have to type my password in, let that run. I've already got it installed, but why not do it again? Boom. Now if you go to the website, it's going to tell you that they recommend you use Yarn or Webpack. Honestly, I haven't used it. I plan to do that in the near future, see what's up. I actually didn't even know about these two frameworks. I've just been comfortable with Bower. It's pretty mature, and it's very well maintained. Everything, Bower's pretty easy. Some people have a different package manager they would like to use for their front end stuff. I like Bower. I've been using it for a while, so I'm pretty comfortable using it. But most certainly, if throughout the tutorial, if you want to use something else, by all means, go ahead. In fact, I'd love to learn. If you know how to use Yarn and Webpack, go ahead. I've not even looked at their websites. So anyways, we'll go from there. So I'll keep this for reference. Alright, so after you've installed it, you'll need to, it's a good thing to go ahead and, I remember now I can't do that because it's a pain in the butt. Never put spaces in your folders when you're naming them. But you'll need to open up a terminal in your project window. It's just a good idea. Keep one handy. I'm going to go ahead and minimize it. And I'm going to go ahead and open up our current project. This is not it, unfortunately. Okay. Alright. So we're going to open up folders and tutorial projects and our Candyland. Boom. Alright, so just briefly what we had talked about before, if you've not been watching this for a while. So we had just edited our startup CSS, adding the MVC, using our static files, status codes, just developer exception page, and our use MVC with default route. Now I'm going to teach you what the use MVC default route means, and like how the routing protocols work. And so it basically works like this. It's going to look at the controller. It's going to say, we're going to create a home controller. and then that's going to point to a view, right? And then we're going to do the index. And then that would point to if you had, let's say, an ID. And that's pretty much all it is home, index, and then index. Let's say you had a list of books, right? You had a list of books and you clicked on book 3. The ID would be 3 because you're indexing into the 3rd book. And this could be anything. This could be the about page, right? So I use indexing, but that's the way it is. Or, you know, this could be your whatever controller. Customers, right? Customers, and then you know, our main customer, let's see, I don't know, we'll do main customers, and then the ID would be like if you go to the main customers and then get ID. But that's pretty much how the protocols work, or that's how the standard routing is in MVC. You can make your own custom routes, whatever you want to do. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to go over the time to spend to teach you how to do that either, because for most projects you don't need it, especially if you're just trying to get something up and running, as simple as a basic website or something. Just go with the standard. I mean, it works pretty good. I'm not going to spend time to make custom stuff. Now, if you have like some APIs and some other stuff, you need some custom stuff, by all means, you have a big enterprise level piece of software, by all means, do your custom work. But I'm just here for a simple tutorial. So with any MVC, you need your model views and controllers. So we're going to go ahead and create our folders. So controllers, models, and views. Now make sure they're not inside of the controllers, so drag them outside of it. Alright, so inside of our controllers, how this works is I'm going to set up a home controller, so a home folder, and I'm going to create a new class, and this is going to be called home controllers. Boom. Home controllers in our home folder here. And home controllers is going to, before we do that, I need my using statements. So I should really just have this like copied and pasted. So I'm going to use system, and I'm going to use Microsoft.ASP.core.MVC for now. That's all I'm using. And home controllers is going to inherit controller, because a home controller and not controllers, we need controller. So rename this file to just a simple home controller.css. Home controller namespace is controllers.home. Okay. So home controller is a controller. Now for most things, especially if you're going to be calculating data and doing stuff, you're going to use an iAction result asynchronously in most cases. For this, we're just going to return a view. So we're going to do a public, and then a view, right? So we're going to do a view result, and then we're going to call this index. We're passing it nothing, and then all we want to do is return the view. That's it. So we're gonna create a view result of index, and we're returning the view. So how this works is it's going to go down here and say, okay, I need to return an index view. So within our views folder, you need to create a new folder as well, and you need to call this home. With inside home, you will create a new file called index.cshtml. Now for 1 second here, I'm going to rename this just to HTML. And the reason being is because I'm going to use a snippet that it doesn't work when I name it CS.HTML, because it doesn't know what CS is. It doesn't really know what that is. And so after I get that saved, working, I'll just rename it to CS.HTML. So CS, you know, you gotta make sure it's after the period there. Sort of hard to see. Look at the laptop. There we go. And so that's just a razor view. There might be an extension for VS Code to to recognize HTML language within the Razor view, but right now it doesn't, and I haven't spent the time to look for an extension. If you know of one, please let me know. So within here, real briefly, I'll do an h1 tag, and I'm going to say hello from home controller, right? Controller. Okay, we're going to save it. Now, if I did this alright, this should work, because it's going to come down home and then look for index. Same thing as we did here. We created our index, return the view, come down here, look for our index, return it. So in your terminal window, do a .NET build, make sure we don't have any syntax errors. We don't. .NET run our application. If you're running Visual Studio, you can just click the play button. Oh, cancel this. You know, there's a problem. I swear that I save, but it never really saves everything. There we go. .NET build. There's probably a bug in VS Code, because I always click Control S every single time, every time I edit something. So .NET, yep, gotta give it a run command here. .NET run. Alright, let's see it blow up in our face. Ready for it. It does. Index was not found. Aha. So, here is naming. You have to... Capitalization is mandatory. You have to use it. And there we go. Hello from our home controller. Alright, so that's sort of how it works. If you wanted the same thing here, if you wanted an about... Why is this red? Does it really? I don't know what it's talking about. Okay, anyways. So we're going to do another one, and we're going to do another view. We're going to return a view result. You could also have a JSON result, whatever you wanted. It derives from the actual result interface. And we're going to call this one about. And yeah, and then we'll just return the view, simple thing again. Alright, and then down here, same thing you would do is create a new file, and I'm going to call this about. Remember, I'm going to capitalize it, .cs, HTML. In here, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to do an h1 tag that says this is the about page. Boom, save it. And then restart our server. I'll wait for that to restart. I'll refresh the page. Alright, and then I'll have to do home and about. Why not? Why can't you find it? I'm sad. Did I spell about right? About. Here is that annoying thing. I'm gonna shoot this thing. I really am. Okay. Cross 5,000. Alright. And then home. About. There we go. And I misspelled page. But you get the point. That's how the routing is set up in MVC. You don't need the folders here. You really don't. You don't need the folders. I just like to organize it. That's actually probably what it's screaming to me about, because if I just did new class and called this home controller, right? and I went over here and pretty much just copied this, except for this. You don't need this part on here. Save this. Cut. Controller. I just sort of find it easier to put it like that. But you don't need to make the folders. I just do. Oh, don't cut it. That's because I can just go in here and say, oh, I need, or if I have account information, customer information, whatever, I know it's within a folder. But you don't have to do that. You can put it in there. I'm going to delete this, move it to trash. Alright, so that's how that's set up. And yeah, anyways, leave it like that. And there we go. That's how the basics work. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to use Bower. So we can exit this. Now the one thing you'll need to do is, because if I do a Bower, so to get Bower set up, and you can go to there, if you need help and you want to understand more, go to bower.io. But to get it set up, you are going to need to create a bower.json file. Bower.json is very similar to what we do here to keep our packages, you know, telling our application what packages it needs. So if I do a Bower init, you can just, I'm just going to run through that, is you'll see that it creates a bower.json file. And right now, our directory is Bower components. So if I run, right, Bower install -- save jQuery, for instance, it's going to create a new folder called Bower components. I'll go ahead and run this. Boom. And we don't really want another folder called Bower components. Now, by all means, if you want it there, fine. But that's not how I set up my application. If you want to set up that like that, I suggest not to, though. I suggest everything to be in your www root folder. That's just the convention. But by all means, if you want it there, you can leave it there. I really don't care. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete the bower.json file. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and set up my www root. So you can do it from here if you want. You need a CSS folder. And I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to cd into my www root. And I'm going to do make directory, and I want a JS. I want to make a directory called images. I want to make a directory called fonts. I want to, what else do I normally use? And I also want to make a directory lib. And that's where all our Bower components are going to live. Our jQuery, our Bootstrap, our Font Awesome, basically anything that's going to be managed by Bower is going to live there. All our custom CSS, our custom fonts, our custom images, our custom JavaScript will live inside of those folders. Okay? So everything that's managed by Bower is going to be, that's going to live inside of our lib. Another thing that we're going to need is, I'm going to cd out of this, go back a little bit, ls, make sure I'm in there. Okay, is you will need to make another file, and if you're on Linux, you can do a touch command. Also, if you're on Mac, you can do touch. Windows, I'm not really sure there's actually a command that you can create a file. So I suggest just right-clicking, create new file, or if you're in Visual Studio or whatever you're using, just go up here. You're going to make a new file in your root folder, and just make a new file. And you're going to make a file called dot and then Bower RC. So Bower RC is a config file for Bower, and it's just standard JSON. And we're going to make a directory, and so the directory is where your Bower is going to live, like all your Bower components. So we're going to do www root /lib, and that's where all our stuff's going to live. So you can save that. So now when I come over here and I do a Bower init, initialize, Candyland's fine, description, you just click enter on all this. In your actual project, you probably want to fill it out, but it doesn't really matter. So now we have a another bower.json file. And so for now, we're going to do bower install, and then for this, ---- save. If you, the sort of works the same way as Node Package Manager. -G is for global, ---- save or -- save is it's going to save it into your bower.json file, so that if you're on another project or you move this to somewhere else or you want to reinstall all your packages, you don't have to go through. It's going to keep it into your JSON file, and then when you do a bower install, it'll just look in this JSON file, look at everything that it needs, and go ahead and pull it. It sort of works the same way as Node Package Manager. So instead of saying npm, you're just going to do a bower install ---- save. And we're going to do two things here. We're going to do jQuery, pull that in, and we're also going to do a bootstrap. So now if I come over here and I look under my www lib, I'll see that I have bootstrap and I have jQuery. And I have all that needs to be in there. So I can, where is it? I can't see. There we go. And if I look at my bower.json file, I can see that my dependencies are saved. So this is what it'll look at when it's actually looking for stuff. So that is the basis of it. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to set up shared views. Also, if you're watching this video and you want to follow along, I do use the official Bootstrap themes. If you do not have them, you can purchase them. If you're just going to use it for this tutorial purpose only, you can PM me and I will send you the template that I'm going to use. But if you are going to use it for official business, you should probably pay for it. So that's my disclaimer, is you need to pay for the theme like everyone else, because the developers sat down and worked on it, and trust me, it's not free or easy to do this kind of stuff sometimes. So I'm going to marketing. I'm going to use the bold theme. So I'm going to open up another window here, and I'm just going to copy it into the folders I need it to be in. So documents, tutorial projects, Candyland, and www. And like I said, our custom CSS, our custom fonts, our custom images, our JavaScript, everything that can be managed by Bower is going to live in there. So I'm going to go to my assets, CSS, open up the CSS. I'm going to grab the bold application CSS, toolkit bold, copy it over here, paste it in there. I'm just going to do that for each folder, right? Get my custom fonts in here. Ubuntu has a bug that I hate. My mouse jumps to the bottom corner sometimes. Images. I'm not going to use all these images, but I'm going to select a lot of them. Boom. Alright. JavaScript, same thing. Use all these. We're not going to use the jQuery. We'll eventually change it because we're going to use the Bower jQuery. We don't need their jQuery. Okay, cool. Alright, so after you got all that in there, you can make sure that it populated in www. If you open that folder, CSS, boom, we got it. Oh yeah, one thing that I forgot is you're going to need to grab the HTML, unless you just want to handwrite all your HTML. I'm not doing that for this tutorial. This is not an HTML class. So documents, bold. You know what? We'll just open this up in a thing. Grab all this. Boom, boom. And our views and our index file. Select all. Paste it in there. Now, one thing about this theme, I think it has CSS in here somewhere. Yeah. So this is not going to work because Razor is going to throw a flag. So if I just save all this and I try to run it, I'll show you. So .NET runs. I come over here, wait for it to load the server, it's going to crash. And it'll say that the name media does not exist in the current context. So that's what's just saying that this works as like, I can start a for loop here. It's just Razor syntax. And so it's sort of, when you do this, in CSS this works. This is a media query for CSS. Unfortunately, you're going to need to put that in a custom CSS file or whatever. I'm just gonna delete it because it only is a fix for iPhones, and we're not really testing on phones. We're not gonna use it on iPhones. This is a tutorial, not actual production site. Actual production site, you would need to move that over to your CSS and make sure you include it. Check to see what browser they're using. They're using Safari. Give it those parameters, whatever. But that's a media query. That is a media query in Razor syntax views. That starts off as actual code that you can write for loops or whatever you're going to do, right? So now, if I refresh the page, it should load fine. Alright, so now my CSS is broken, stuff like that. We'll go ahead and fix that here. I'm going to do a control find. I'm going to find whatever asset is, assets. And all I'm going to do is replace it with nothing, replace all. The other thing that you're going to have to do is go in here and find, if you're following along with me, is image, right, /image, because we put everything in /images. Replace all those 10. So now if I refresh the page, you see what I'm saying? Like I gotta press it 6,000 times. So there. So this is a theme we're using. Just a bold theme from Bootstrap themes, the official themes. If you did purchase it, if you want to use a different one, you can. It's the same thing throughout, just a different theme. And I'm using the bold. Alright, so you might say, how I'm writing this over and over and over for each page, because if I go over here to my about page, right, I go to /home and then /about, I don't get any CSS, I don't get anything. So .NET has a cool way of managing this for you. So you're going to need to create a shared folder. Make sure to capitalize this. And you're going to need two files. One that we're going to set up now, one we'll set up later. So one is _view start, right? Now view start is where it comes here, and this is where we can load all our shared content, whatever. So you'll need to use the ampersand sign, the @ symbol, and sort of like some JSON here, capital layout equals, in parentheses, quotations, _layout, boom, save it. The other file that is most commonly used is in views, is we need a view imports. And view imports we'll use later when we're actually going to import stuff. So view imports .cshtml. And this one as well needs to be .cshtml. And within our shared, if you've sort of guessed it, we haven't created a layout page. So within our shared folder, we need to create a layout .cshtml. Now what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to type this for everything, and every single one of our pages is going to use this, is I'm going to copy down to the body. And I'm going to cut, Control X, Command X if you're on a Mac. I'm going to come down here to the layout. I'm just going to paste it in there. And I'm also going to create a div. I'm going to tab over, div. I'm going to use this @render body. show you how that works in a second. Also, I want my nav bar. I'm going to use it for all the pages as well. If I can not scroll so fast. Okay. Boom. Cut that. Come over our layout page. Right after the body. We'll paste that in there. Save. And actually, I could tap this all over. And that's actually really ugly. Right, because this needs to be tabbed in. We could fix this. I'm just going to leave it for now. Okay. The next thing I need is our footer, because that's on every single page, right? So grab this right here. It's our footer. Control X. Come to our layout. So after we render the body, Control V. Save. Alright. So what this render body tag is it's going to render this on every single page. So every single page is going to have this nav bar, it's going to have the CSS, it's going to have the JavaScript. And this render body is going to go to each individual thing, and it's just going to render the content within here. Right, so in this one, I just have, you know, the pictures and certain things that I want just for that page, because it doesn't have anything to do with my about page. And I'm going to copy this for CSS purposes. I need an H1 tag here. So we'll go copy this little section here. So if we go to our about page now, as you see, there's nothing in here. I just have an H1. If I refresh this, expected. Yep, buddy. Make sure you have a semicolon on the end of this or it won't work. Boom, that's our about page. Just has a whole lot of nothing on it. And if we go to our actual home page, there we go with our menu. That doesn't really have a menu, but whatever. It's not a menu, it's just a fake button. Go bootstrap, people. Okay. But anyway, you get the point. It's the footer, and oh, there's two footers in there. Why is there two footers? Oh, I remember. We got in there twice. We got press in there, and then we got other, and then we have our photography. No, why is that in there twice? Oh no, I'm gonna have to figure that out. Always something happens, man. Always. Oh. I'm telling you, this bug is getting on my nerves. It doesn't save. Look, I'm pressing. Got it. It's getting on my nerves. Okay. There we go. Alright, so it just wasn't saved. And so in our about, I can remove this because I want to add an H1 tag here that says about us. I'm going to delete this and say this is our about page. save it. So now if we come over here, /home /about, we'll get our about page there. So that's how the shared pages work. That way I don't have to have my CSS on every single page. I don't have to, because it's just, you know, just sort of cleaner. I only need one page, one thing. That way, let's say my CSS changes. Now I only have one file that I need to go to change my CSS. For instance, if I let's just like add an extra A in here, right? So now it's different. All my pages are going to be affected by it. That was, I guess, a bad one, huh? Add an extra T in there. Right, so now my theme doesn't work anymore. And I only have one, so if it was to change, I would only have to go to one page to change my CSS instead of having to change it on every single page, which is sort of pointless. Right, because it's the same code that I can just reuse over and over. So that's the basics. The next module we'll probably add some more files, and then hook up a database, get some data, and then pass it from the controller, or make some models, view models, go to the controller, maybe do something with it, you know, query some data. We'll use any framework. That module is going to be like a long, probably a good hour or two to go over everything. But hopefully from this, you sort of understand how this works. Go back and learn. It's going to take time. You just have to stick with it, and use Google as your resource. It's your best friend. But until next time, see you later.